The NBA playoffs have begun. So we got game one from the Western Conference games. I'm going to give you my reaction to each one of them from this weekend coming up. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Jay here with Unfair Sports, where we take a pensive approach to the sports conversation. On this video, we're going to talk about the Western Conference teams here in the playoffs. Game one, just first. Okay, so reactions to these games in the Western Conference. So now we have first game on Saturday. We have the Dallas Mavericks playing against the LA Clippers in LA, and the Mavericks walked in and snatched a chain. It's one of those situations where we all made the joke that the Clippers were purposely tanking to play against the Mavs instead of playing against the Lakers, which they lost to the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder in the freaking last two games of the season, which they should not have. I don't even care if it was their backups playing. This is a playoff team. There's no reason for them to lose to those teams who were literally playing kids that shouldn't have a chance of winning that type of game. Now, because of that, we have the Mavs and the Clippers matchup, which is basically a revenge from last year. Luka had a really good year. Last playoffs was his coming out, I guess you could say, in which he was actually the favorite for the MVP. People were calling him MVP immediately. Didn't get it, of course, because of Nikola Jokic playing good, and I'll talk about him a little later. But Luka's on a revenge tour. And it's even beautiful. Go watch the video. There's a video of him basically bodying Patrick Beverley. And after he scored and got fouled, he basically yelled out, "You're too effing small." Gave it to him. And he was going for it the entire time. If you watch the way the rotations were, Luka Doncic was going after him. Luka was in his bag in that one. He wanted all the smoke in that game. He wanted every single bit that you could give him. And it was beautiful watching him ball the way he was balling. That concerns me about the Clippers. It concerns me. I'm 100% concerned about them as a team. Paul George, of course, starts off as Pandemic P, and then as the jokes start to fly, and then we got Playoff P later on, and then I think it kind of reverted back to Pandemic P. Kawhi's going to be a free agent at the end of this, and I sense that it's going to be either you trade him or I'm out. Because this team is not championship caliber. Kawhi seems like he's been regressing in the playoffs lately. He's been having these moments. He was 9 for 22 and 1 for 6 from 3. I mean, he added like almost 10 rebounds in the game, but he did not look like a Kawhi Leonard that we are used to. Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard, the one that led Toronto Raptors to a championship. This does not look like him. That team is set up to where if one of those two don't go off, they do not win. They have no chance. They have nobody else to go off. Of course, national TV Rondo was doing his thing, knocking down threes and stuff, but he can only do so much. Rondo's not going to give you 40. And I like Rondo, but he's not going to give you 40. Luka was out there like, I want it. And I mean, Kawhi gave us some flashes of greatness when he dunked on, was that Maxey Kruber? He kind of dunked all over him, and it was, in the face that he gave. But the problem with Kawhi is a quiet guy, and I think Paul George needs more of a guy that's vocal. And the way this looks, there's no chance that Paul George comes back next year unless they get past the second round. Listen to me right now. If the Clippers do not make it out of the second round, not even just the first, but the second, Paul George will be traded. He will be gone. 0 point on purpose of keeping him on that team with Kawhi Leonard. If they couldn't do it right now with them two and Patrick Beverley is having probably the best defensive wing set up, perimeter defenders in the league. They can't do it. If they can't do that, there's no point in keeping the team together. Cut it out. So I'm going to go say in this one, the Mavs win it in 6. I initially had the Clippers. But I think it's going to be Mavs in 6. Game 1 was enough for me to see that I think the Mavs will eventually pull this out. Because Luka is for real on a revenge tour, and I think this will be just enough to get him out of the first round for the first time and move him on. Now, I hope the Clippers prove me wrong because I really want the Clippers and Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. I really want the Battle of LA there. I really want that so bad. But if they're playing like this against the Mavs, and the Mavs isn't a bad team, it's just they're not supposed to be as good as the Clippers, I'm concerned about them, period. So the last game on Saturday was the Mountain Time game, which is the Denver Nuggets hosting the Portland Trailblazers. Portland ate on them in the second half. Dame Lillard, it was Dame time. So like I said, it's Mountain Time. Not sure how many of y'all stuck to it. I tried. I think I made it to portions of the third quarter when the Nuggets were coming back. Then I ended up just going to bed. I was exhausted because I'm Central Time, and by the time that game was really going, it was getting late, and I'm pretty I've gotten better about being consistent on my sleep time, more so because of my health. But I try to stay up and watch it, and I just didn't. It's one of those, you start to blink, and then the next time you look up, it's on Sports Center. That's what it felt like. But Dame time made me realize I was wrong because Denver was up, and I thought that they would go ahead and close it out in the game at the half, and then Dame in the third, and then Dame, in the fourth. The entire Blazers team put it together, and Carmelo Anthony looked pretty solid. Looks like he's coming off the bench beautifully in Portland as he did last year. He's realized that his role is great as a leader and mentor from the bench, and playing about 22 minutes. Let that gradually increase as you get deeper into the playoffs. They also figured out the secret of beating the Denver Nuggets in that game. Let Jokic do your thing. Let him do it. Dame said it in his post-game interview that he believes that Nikola Jokic is the MVP. And he's right. Dude's going to win. He better win MVP, period. But they figured out what to do. Let him dominate the game with points. And that's it. That's it. Only give him the points. Don't give him anything else. By giving him the points, you're good. But if you give him the ability to play make and do more on the court, you got a problem. And that's where we saw Portland do last night. They started to let him do it. Jokic had 1 assist. Now, keep in mind, the people he passed it to, I think the stat is that on potential dimes from Jokic, those shooters were 1 for 10. That's not good. That technically means that they weren't making anything. That's not going to continue. That won't be something that happen every game. So as much as I love that Portland stole home court advantage with that win, I'm still going to go with the Nuggets in 6. Only because I don't see the supporting cast missing as many shots as they did when they get the passes and the playmaking from Jokic moving forward. I also believe that Jokic can adjust his game well enough that he can be prepared for the fact that this team is going to let him score as much as he wants to and try to shut everybody else out. And Michael Porter Jr. should show up eventually. We should get his showing because he looked great this season, and I think that's going to be the X factor for them is that if Porter Jr. can pick up the slack, because Aaron Gordon's Aaron Gordon. His numbers have been the same damn near his entire career. We know who he is. He's a consistent guy, 13-14. He'll continue to do his thing like he's supposed to. They need a scorer. The Jamal Murray, the one to really take the weight off of what Jokic is doing, as well as leverage his playmaking ability. I think Michael Porter Jr. can do it, and I think that's going to be too much firepower to go against Portland. Portland did win, in a pretty convincing manner. I'll give them that. 123 to 109. It's just that third quarter was ridiculous. 38 points to 25. They ate them up. I don't see Jokic going for 34 points, 16 rebounds, and only 1 assist ever again. It's a playoff low for him. I don't see that happening again at all. And because of that, first game jitters, first game getting it going without Jamal Murray, trying to figure things out. I think that Malone and them can make something else happen, and I see them going ahead and moving forward into the second round. No shade to Portland because I love them. I just don't think they're going to beat the Nuggets in this one. So I'm going to go ahead and say Nuggets in 6. Still back home court advantage when they go to Portland. They'll win 2 and 3, and then we'll see from there. All right, now the Lakers and the Suns. The matchup we were waiting for, the matchup that everyone's expecting the Lakers to easily win. It didn't look easy for them. The Phoenix Suns won this game 99-90, and it looks like Bubble Booker is still in full effect. Devin Booker was a monster in this game. 34 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. Devin Booker is here. He has arrived. He's finally got in the playoffs. He's finally got a chance, and he is taking it. 13 for 26 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3. He played like he had no fear, and they were doubling him in most of the game. They were trying to get the ball out of his hands, and he was able to go out there and cook, and then the rest of the team was stepping up. Campaign knocked down a nice 3 besides getting ejected for getting into it with Caruso, which was a little weird to me. But anyway, and then Chris Paul unfortunately gets hurt, a la traditional Chris Paul, hurting his shoulder. He said he heard a crack noise. He's most likely going to play game 2. I don't see him being out, but he's going to be limited. And I can totally see the Lakers kind of going after that shoulder, making him use it more than he wants, because he was bringing the ball up with his left most of the time. And you can tell that he has some discomfort. And that could, if anything, be what cost the Suns. But the way that Devin Booker's playing, Devin Booker is saying that this is it. This is him. This is his arrival. This is his team. Forget Chris Paul. This is mine, and I'm going to run this thing. And he did it. So I'll give him that. The Lakers themselves, they look completely out of sorts. And I'm still trying to figure out why isn't Marc Gasol playing at all. Does Vogel know something that we don't? Because Drummond is playing a lot. Now, Drummond is doing something that they need. He got 7 offensive rebounds in this game. 7. But the Phoenix Suns somehow had 16 offensive rebounds with Ayton getting 8. He had 16 boards, 21 and 16. DeAndre Ayton, woo, he showed up. That's going to be the biggest problem right there for the Lakers, is that Andre Drummond has value because he gets offensive rebounds. He got 7. The other, Montrezl Harrell had 2 and LeBron had 1. So he had 7 of their 10. But Drummond is kind of a liability out there on the offensive side. Like, you can't put him in the post and run plays designed for him. I forgot who mentioned it. I think it was Dudley. I think it's Jared Dudley that said that Drummond had never been coached before. I think it's more of a tongue-in-cheek type statement, but to be honest, the way he's playing, yeah, it kind of looks like he's never been coached before in the NBA, because he is all over the place. And I don't think that the Lakers have enough time to actually get him up to speed like they need to. So they kind of need to play Gasol a little bit more. Give Gasol some minutes, see if he can be impactful. He can't get the offensive rebounds like Drummond, and we know that. But if anything, you could probably play Drummond with Gasol side by side, maybe have like a twin tower things going on, because the Suns don't really have no bigs. And they didn't shoot very well in this game. They shot 32% from 3, while the Lakers shot 26%. That's probably another strategy to try, see how that works out. But Drummond, I don't know. Anthony Davis was off most of the game. He was 5 for 16. LeBron was about LeBron-ish, but he was 6 for 13, so he was well under his typical 60% from the field. They just looked out of sorts. Anthony Davis really looked off. Even though he was out there hustling and jumping and blocking shots, got 7 boards, 3 blocked shots, they looked out of sorts. And that's something that the Lakers are going to have to figure out. It may have something to do with the fact that LeBron's supposed to be suspended. He should have been suspended for breaking protocol, which we don't know the full story behind it. I mean, I've seen some of these stories, and I don't know. Something else is here. The league may have had some lenience in there once you started getting closer to vaccinations or rules being lifted in cities. I don't know what it is. But if he was supposed to be suspended, then this is basically his suspended game. They lost. The world fixed the problem for you all. So don't worry. The Lakers lost their game. So because of that, LeBron and Anthony Davis need to step up more. Probably need to see more Gasol if the Lakers want to win this. I still have the Lakers winning this in 6. I love what Phoenix is doing, and I love that they're trying to prove us wrong. I really hope Devin Booker averages 34 a game for the rest of the series, because this was a really good game in comparison to what the score showed. it was a lot better. And it was really good seeing Phoenix out there dominating like they were. And it's good to see Phoenix back in the playoffs for the first time since 2010. It's a beautiful thing. Between them and the Knicks being in the playoffs for the first time in some years, the Grizzlies making their valiant return since the grit and grind days. This has been some good playoffs. This has been some really, really, really good playoffs. And I appreciate it, NBA. I appreciate it, team. I'm glad that you all are able to step up after being in that bubble and having a shortened season and condensed and all the injuries to still give us a quality product. A+. Lakers in 6 still. But Phoenix, please prove me wrong. I really want y'all to prove me wrong. Lakers in 6. All right, so the last game 1 of the weekend was the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Utah Jazz in Utah. And the Grizzlies are continuing to stun us. They are part of the group of young rising stars that we're overly excited about. Losing their series is most likely. Let me say it like this. Memphis won game 1, 112-109. Donovan Mitchell did not play, in which we're not even sure when he's going to come back from this severely sprained ankle that he has. So Utah, of course, is a little bit in flux trying to figure out what they're going to do. Well, the game ended up being close. 3-point game. Memphis did some smart heads-up stuff. You can tell guys were coached properly. You had, who was it, Kyle Anderson, who went out and fouled Bogdanovic before he could shoot his 3 to put him on the line when they were down 3 points, which was perfect. Now, I was a little confused. I think it was Dylan Brooks that shot the last layup to give Memphis the lead for the rest of the game with like 4 seconds left. Let me verify real quick now that this thought came to my head. Yeah, it's Dylan Brooks who made a 3-foot layup with 4 seconds left, in which, to me, I thought that was a bad idea. It still worked out for them, but as a heads-up play like that, kind of like Kyle Anderson did, as soon as Utah inbounded the pass, Kyle Anderson ran at, well, not inbound. Yeah, they got it from the opposite side of the court. They inbounded it from the other side of the court, brought it up, and Kyle Anderson immediately looked at the clock, saw how much time was left, and immediately ran over and fouled Bogdanovic, which was a masterful heads-up play, something that you would see a San Antonio Spur do. Hence, he played for San Antonio. And that's a great way of making sure, it's like 6 seconds left, it was making sure that there was no way they were going to tie the game up, which was smart. The Dylan Brooks layup at the end, I say it's confusing because it was 4 seconds. It was 6 seconds left. He got the pass. He could have easily dribbled the ball out and just ran the clock, or they were going to foul him. So it was a guarantee that they were going to either foul him or he could dribble the timeout. And because of how much time was left, it would have given Utah maybe a quarter of a second or a second to try to win the game, which is nowhere near enough time to do that. So, but outside of critiquing that ending, Memphis did their thing. Ja Morant went out there, ate. He ate. So we've got this nice group of young players doing things from him, Trae Young. It's something that we've been, I guess you could say, hoping for. Devin Booker is making his arrival as this is his first playoff series. So we're starting to see a shift in the league. And so back to this game, Dylan Brooks and Ja Morant could possibly be the next Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum setup. Dylan Brooks, the biggest difference, Dylan Brooks is a really good defender. So he's pretty masterful out there with his defense. And he doesn't have fear of putting the ball up in the air. Now, the question I got to ask is either one of them going to do more than just score? Because, Brooks had 7 rebounds and 2 assists with 2 steals, 2 blocks. He did a little bit more. Ja had 4 rebounds, 4 assists to go with his 26 points. It was 31-26 respectfully. They look like we may have their tandem. That's something that Memphis has, which is a good thing. Dylan Brooks is not a little dude, not too little. Let's put it like that. He's 6'7", so he's probably giving us more than what we would probably get out of the Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum setup, in which I love their setup. The problem is at their size, no one wins championships at that size. The last time a point guard, led their team to a championship, like actually winning the championship, and was under the height of, roughly 6'3", and that's it. It was really Isaiah. I mean, Steph kind of counts, but Steph is still pretty tall, and he also had Klay Thompson, who was out there at 6'7", dropping threes, and then Kevin Durant. So it wasn't like I'm talking about by himself, really doing everything was Isaiah Thomas back in the Detroit Piston Bad Boys days, as he was the main guy doing basically everything. So anyway, my point is it's harder for smaller guards to really win championships. We really haven't seen them be able to carry all the way through. And I've mentioned this before about Ja. I feel like Ja, honestly, is like a Dwayne Wade, like a smaller Dwayne Wade. My only fear with him is health. That's it. And guys like that typically fall apart after so many years of getting beat up. Dwayne Wade fell apart before even LeBron got there. Allen Iverson started to see a big decline. And Ja 6'3". He's a small dude. But he can ball. And I love his game. I'm in no way a hater of Ja, because I really enjoy his game. Like I said, my only fear for him is size. So as long as Dillon Brooks can help pick up a lot of the slack, and then Kyle Anderson continue to do what he's doing as well at his age, at 27, be able to be a good complementary piece, I think Memphis got something that they can be in the next couple years. We just need them to step up every year, continue to grow. As long as they can continue to grow, I like the future of the Memphis Grizzlies. As long as they keep adding pieces to make their team better, I like the Memphis Grizzlies. So this is a good series. I still got Utah winning it. I got Utah winning it in 6. This is going to be a fight. It may actually go to 7 the way things are looking. But I still got Utah going in 6. Great job, Memphis. I love what you're doing. Let's make the magic happen. Keep us exciting, please.